What's going on, Chick-fil-A fam? We are back with part 2 of our ongoing series in Heel Husband's house. We covered on our last episode, I kind of introduced Heel Husband and talked about how he got started with action figures. We pulled out some LJNs, some Hasbros, and we talked about how we found a couple of totes up in Heel Husband's attic filled with action figures, mostly wrestling figures, and I just filled up a random tote bag. Heel Husband has no idea what's even in this bag. I just pulled out a bunch of random figures and threw them in here, but I'm going to be drawing stuff out, and the Heel Husband here is going to be just talking about it, taking us through how he used these specific characters in his figure federation and kind of like any memories attached to these certain figures. So you ready, Heel Husband?
Let's do it.
All right, let's see what we got in here in the little box O gimmicks. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I found a good one. What about this guy? He looked familiar.
Man.
Let's start right in the field spot. See if I can get the camera to focus on our buddy here. All right.
So this is from Series 2. I can't remember because there's a couple different paintings. I can't remember if Series 2 was the King of Hearts or if it was a Slammy Award winning, but basically this is the same figures with some repaints from Series 2 of the BCAs. Owen Hart, obviously one of our favorites. Bret Hart's our all-time favorite wrestler, and he was probably really Bret's greatest rival. Cool thing about this is that Jax really did nail it. This is because of all the stuff we know, the unfortunate circumstances, there aren't a ton of Owen Hart figures out there, and this is probably definitely the best one. They did a good job capturing him when he had his shorter hair and stuff, but when I think of Owen, I'm picturing long-haired Owen from WrestleMania 10, SummerSlam 94, and I think they just did a really great job of capturing this with the head scan, the paint job on the attire and all that, and just a really great figure that still holds up over 20 years later.
So is it safe to say that this BCA figure got a lot of action in Heel Husband's figure fit?
Definitely, especially once the Hart Foundation came out. The Hart Foundation, they were running the territory. They really did crush it.
Was that a pun? Sorry. What is your overall feeling on the bone crunching action as far as like a figure line and things like that?
Well, as far as the actual bone crunching feature, this guy's actually still works.
Yeah, he's got some.
I didn't really care about that. I just liked it because they actually had articulation. That you could swivel them at the hips. You could bend their legs a little bit. You can actually just do moves with them. Whereas with the LJNs and even to a lesser degree with the Hasbros, you really kind of were if your play was dictated by whatever pose the company put the figure in. There were certain moves that you just really had to kind of just stretch your imagination to get the guys to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all the kids that grew up in the Mattel Elite era, you guys are so lucky. But I also feel like you guys are lucky too because it really made you deep dive into your imagination and figure out how to make stuff happen, even though the action figures didn't have that much articulation or detail and things like that. So anyway, let's see what else we can draw out of this box. Okay, tell me about this. What is this?
So that's Skinner. So the cool thing about Hasbro was that when they selected these characters, they're really kind of all over the place. Like for every Bret Hart or Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior you get a random Skinner or Giant Gonzalez or the Repo Man. So even though they didn't make a ton of figures, they dug deep. So the Repo Man is Steve Keirn, who ironically, everybody's favorite thing in pro wrestling right now is NXT. He's the guy that started Florida Championship Wrestling, which was the company that NXT eventually became. The company that turned into NXT over the years. So even though his run in WWE was basically a jobber, I think he had a pay-per-view match at WrestleMania 8 against Owen Hart and then was in a couple of Survivor Series matches, and that was it. He's really one of the most influential guys over the past 10 years or so in wrestling.
See, I told you guys, encyclopedic memory. I had no idea. This guy looks like he got quite a bit of play to be kind of a jobber. He looks like he's seen.
He's a cool figure.
He's seen better days. Yeah, he looks like kind of like a badass, kind of like a Marlboro Man type,
Yeah, very toyetic.
Yeah, very, very toyetic. Good way to put that. All right. Let me dig deep in here. What is this, Seth?
So that's a thumb wrestler. So that was from the early days of LJN. They were really popular back in the day, apparently. But I know they had like Hulk Hogan, Junkyard Dog. There's definitely a Nikolai Volkov I had at one point. But they were just, you basically stick your thumb up the wrestler's butt and then you fight with your friends. I don't know if you see he knocks the other one off or whatever. It's kind of hard to do traditional thumb wrestling with it, but yeah, it's a thumb wrestler. They were a thing back in the 80s.
Yeah, this says 1985. Yeah, made by LJN. Did you say that?
Yeah, they were from the start of LJN.
Nice. All right, what about hard plastic Marlena.
So this was another good job that Jakks picked up. So LJN was awesome about making the managers. You know, they had Captain Lou, Mr. Fuji. They made Slick. One thing about Hasbro, if there was one knock on them, we never had any of the ringside personnel. You know, we never had any referee, any announcer, no managers whatsoever. So it was awesome when Jakks brought these back. This was a little bit into the Jakks line, I think maybe a year or two in, and they came out with the Too Tough series, which was a mixture of guys with tag team partners or with managers. And one of the first ones that came out was Goldust and Marlena, which, you know, in 96 and 95, they were huge. They were really kind of running things to WWE. And this, again, they did a great job. You know, I don't think they could get away with that amount of cleavage on a figure nowadays, but they really did a good job capturing Marlena. She actually had a little plastic cigar in her hand also that I think broke off over the years.
Oh yeah, it did. Look, it's right there in between her middle finger.
Yeah, so we had Goldust in Series 1. They came out, and then they released an improved Goldust that had some of the black trim on his gear. Really cool set came with Marlena. I think that set also had Mark Merrow and Sable, Clarence Mason and Crush, and I think we had Paul Bearer and Mankind in that first set. So it was I remember especially being excited to finally get a Paul Bearer figure because he was such an iconic part of the early 90s wrestling.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so random. There is so much stuff out there when it comes to wrestling figures. All right, tell me a little bit about this.
Oh my gosh,
Yoko figure.
This figure hits me right in the feel spot. You know, the Hasbro Bret Hart I told you guys about. This one's probably in my top 5 most sentimental action figures. So, you know, Yokozuna came on the scene in WWE in 1993, part of the legendary Anoa'i family. We thought he was Japanese for the longest when we were kayfabe only, but, you know, he's actually part of really the Samoan dynasty in wrestling. Monster heel came in 93, and I was heartbroken when he beat Bret Hart for the belt at WrestleMania 9. But just such an awesome guy, super toyetic. You know, he was always charismatic, especially if you saw him in those early years. He was really a good wrestler too. He wasn't just a big guy. He became later on when he couldn't really beat his weight problems. But this was part of a KB's exclusive 3-pack that came out towards the end of 1997. And the reason this figure is sentimental to me is because my family, we took a trip to Dallas to watch the Cowboys play. We lived in South Texas, and I remember it was on Black Friday. And this was the one figure I wanted. We hit had to have been 5 or 6 different malls in Dallas. Just going, you know, we were doing a little bit of Christmas shopping, but in my mind, our specific purpose that whole day was to find this figure. We hit some of the nicest malls there were, nothing, you know, it had every other WWE figures out time except for this one. And then there was this ghetto mall. I can't remember what it was called. It was a mall that had a Kmart attached to it as one of the anchor stores, you know, just give you an idea of what it's like.
Sounds nice.
And then this Ratchet KBs that, you know, they were stocked up. They had figures from the floor to the ceiling, but it was just a mess in there. And just thinking this is a lost hope, but I'll never forget walking back to the WWE section, and up on the shelf they had one more of the 3-packs, and I think it was Ahmed Johnson, somebody else, and Yokozuna, and this figure was just perfect. You know, I think Hasbro had the first Yoko, but I think this one really did a much better job just capturing the scale of him. I mean, he was a totally different figure from the other Jakks. You see his legs just kind of swivel at the side because they're so big. He hasn't even got the same kind of articulation, and he was just awesome. You know, so I was so excited to get this figure. I could barely wait till Christmas to open it up and be able to use it with all my other figures and stuff. But yeah, he had multiple World Championship reigns just because this figure was so special to me. So definitely one of my favorites.
Nice. So at the 3-pack, that was the only figure that you really wanted out of the 3-pack.
Yeah, I already had an Ahmed. Like I said, I want to say it was Mankind. I don't think the Ahmed was even any different. I think Jakks knew what they were doing. I think they pulled one on us. They were running a gimmick to make you just spend $15 to get this Yokozuna figure, because I can't even remember
$15.
What the other two
Can
were.
you imagine spending $15 to get 3 figures nowadays?
No, you'd be lucky if you can get one for $15 most of the time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heel Husband, again for coming on and sharing all these memories with us. A lot of this stuff is new to me. Like I said, I haven't heard a lot of these stories too, so it's exciting for me to get to hear and find out about a lot of these things, because even though I had action figures growing up because I had a brother and male cousins and things like that, I didn't get into action figure collecting until him and I got married, and you know that's when I really started to scratch the itch and go hardcore. But yeah, it's fun to see all these old memories. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this series, and we'll be back soon.